So I've been looking at some search results for a high level topic, so in this case, data observability. And I think it's a really interesting example of what is happening in these kinds of SERPs today. Yeah. So this is kind of an opportunity that not a lot of companies would usually go after. So you can see this is a pretty high volume opportunity and a high level opportunity. Yeah. So like this is not really conversion focused. This is more kind of high volume brand building kind of stuff. Yeah. And then if you look at the top three results, so I have scrolled out, I've kind of scrolled past the ads and things like that. There's a lot of advertising on this, by the way. But for the organic results, yeah, you have like IBM and Datadog and Monte Carlo, and then you have some other ones below. But I just kind of wanted to show you three top ones and how different they are between each other, kind of what they're doing. So if we actually kind of look at the things that are ranking, yeah, the first one is from IBM, and this is a kind of a content article that has like it's relatively long. Yeah, it has a video, it has kind of some sections on stuff, it has some graphics, things like that. Yeah. So this is kind of a pretty long content article. Something interesting that I notice here is that they are actually, so they have a fair amount of links coming back to them for this page. And actually, a lot of the links are coming in through a company that they acquired. Yeah. So they acquired at some point a data observability company. And then they took advantage of that company's entire domain or like the section of their product and ended up pointing it to this page through like a series of redirects. There's even a PR release that points directly to this kind of fairly high level page. Yeah, how many companies are actually putting in so much effort to like make a PR statement around acquisition to just point it to like a content page? Yeah, kind of crazy to think that they're doing this. But this is kind of what was done here. Yeah, and this is ranking number one, so clearly it has worked. Now, the second one is Datadog, and this is kind of very different format, yeah, than what you see on the content page on the left. So this is very very short, and mostly about the product, and has very very little content. It has kind of just two screenshots basically, and then just like a very short explanation of what it does. But this is like mostly pointing people to. It doesn't even have an obvious CTA, I think. Um, yeah, like you kind of it's not super obvious kind of what you're even expected to do on this page. Yeah, but still it's ranking so high over here. That's interesting. With no backlinks, by the way. It's like 6 backlinks or something for the entire thing. Yeah, interesting. And then this is the third result from Monte Carlo, and I think this is just kind of so that you understand the scale of the length of this thing. Yeah, even compared to the IBM post that is pretty long. Yeah, like this is going and going and going. This is very very long. Yeah. And what they did, I think, kind of I did a bit of digging. It looks like they originally published this page in around 2019, and this is currently being referred. You can see in the backlink profile, you are it is being referred as like the original definition of data observability by the first person who is supposedly introduced it, or like who most successfully introduced it in this case. And they kind of went really hard on the SEO front on this. So you can see the length of this page. They have a note at the top of the page that says, okay, this was published in 2019. We ended up updating it to add a lot of stuff. And they like there's everything here. Yeah. So the search term is data observability. So you have origins, you have pillars, you have kind of some graphics, you have benefits, and then if you kind of continue scrolling down, there's like a Gartner definition. There is comparisons to like all of these different things, kind of with other terms. There's like a super long FAQ at the end, and we're still going. And there's an entire like part of the article around AI observability. The way that this looks and the fact that there is kind of a lot of horizontal lines, like, and again, I don't want to make any claims that this is like AI generator or something, but this is a common pattern that I see in articles that use kind of that are heavily AI assisted. Yet then there's kind of a lot of these horizontal dividers, so it seems like they're kind of using them a lot. It's interesting. So extremely long and lots of backlinks, and apparently this was like one of the first definitions that was published on this topic. Yeah. So very, very different ways of going after ranking for this high level term. And again, like not all companies will eventually, like this is not going to be the top priority for a new startup or something like that to rank for this. But if you're a company that really is going to own a space, then eventually you will have to do this, right? And all of these companies are doing it very differently. Something that I'm gleaning from the SERP, so something that I'm seeing is that the Datadog entry is really interesting to me, and it kind of indicates a bit on the shift in intent, I think. So these are the results that I got just on kind of in my session. Yeah, if I go and look at Ahrefs and they are using like an anonymous session for scraping these terms, then the Datadog one is actually ranking lower than the position 2 in here. And so what that suggests to me is that Google has identified me as the person who is kind of more likely to be interested in a product, so potentially like a more technical user or something like that. And so they're pushing a product a little bit higher up here, even though the page has very, very little content. Yeah. And so what that suggests to me is there's kind of, if I were to go after this opportunity with a company that is not present here, a new company perhaps or something like that, then there is kind of two main options that I see over here. So one option is to try and match these guys, yeah, and with some sort of, and I can talk about kind of some suggestions there in a second. But maybe for some of these opportunities, you don't even need to do that, and instead of kind of trying to rank high for the entirety of this high level, high volume term, what you maybe need to be going after is ranking for this term, but only capturing the people who Google thinks are like more technical users or the ones that are interested in the product really and kind of how the product works, by making a page that actually looks a little bit more like this. Yeah, perhaps a little bit more content, perhaps a little bit more focused on the solution actually, and like more screenshots, more explanations of how this actually works and the mechanics and so on, but much less theoretical than these other ones. Yeah, so that would be one possibility. And then the other possibility, actually, if I were to kind of try and match these guys today, then I would actually not kind of like it's. I think it's crazy to kind of try to copy this length and so on, and especially like with AI generated or like AI assisted content, you can go as long as you want, and that doesn't necessarily add so much value to the user. Yeah. So how do you actually make something that is perhaps shorter but visually more interesting and more impactful? Because so the IBM article is the only one that I've seen in the entire SERP that actually has like I think it's a conference video or something like that. And for these high level topics, this could be a way to communicate both authority and depth of information, right? If somebody is presenting a recording, or like if it's a recording where somebody is presenting on a technical conference, then that could be potentially kind of quite a good way for a lot of people to understand the topic over kind of reading this super long piece. And then the other thing is I would lean very hard into visuals and the design components. Yeah, so I would try and not just kind of work on the words, because everybody can work on the words these days. I would try to focus on the visuals because those are much harder to copy. Those can be quite impactful for explaining technical concepts. Could be screenshots, could be graphics, could be maybe interactive page elements. Some companies are starting to do this, but not enough companies are doing it. Is interactive things, yeah. So like things on the page that you can do to learn more about data observability. Perhaps a little kind of JavaScript based visual demo of how the thing works, right? And I think those kinds of impactful visual assets have actually a chance to outrank these kind of monster articles that have also a lot of authority. Are you going to rank number one in 2 days if you make something visually interesting? Unlikely, yeah. But if you kind of base it on a visually interesting article, and then you continue kind of putting in the work to try and eventually match these guys by the volume of backlinks and how they're known in the space, things like that, then I think you could get there at this level. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting.